Hi, good evening and good afternoon, everyone. Jim Gerson here from CareStack. You're in the right place. Thank you for joining our. So let's get started. Tonight's program and all the programs that we've been doing, every third Thursday here would not be possible without the generosity of our sponsors. And I want to thank Darby Dental for their consistent support of this program. Dr. Turnwald, if you want to go ahead and present your next slide, go for it. Floor is yours.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, thank you all for having me and for inviting me to speak to everybody tonight. My name is Dr. Benjamin Turnwald, and I'm here in very cold, snowy Chicago. So just out of curiosity in the chat, wondering where everybody's logging in from. I'd be curious just to see real quick what parts of the country / world we're all in here. All right, so I'm just gonna, as you guys are filling it out, I'm just gonna give you just a little bit of background of who I am. Obviously, I'm a dentist, but I'm a general dentist, more specifically, and graduated from the University of Detroit Mercy in 2009. So I've been out about 13 years. I own and run a fee-for-service practice here in suburban Chicago. Oops, don't need the poll. I've been very involved with SPEAR education through the years, where I've done a lot of my complex PROST continuing education and also practice management skills and learning. So over the years, I've always taken a lot of clinical CE, but I've also read a lot of books and taken a lot of CE on communication skills and practice management. I'm a total nerd who will be reading those books on the weekend, so I'm self-identified junkie on that. And then I'm going to tell the story a little bit tonight about my journey into one of these strategies that I have developed. And then that actually morphed into my side gig, which is a coaching program called Best Practices DDS, where we focus on coaching other doctors and teams in improving their relationships amongst their team, improving relationships with their specialists, and also improving relationships with their patients. So I like to consider myself a relationship-based dentist, where I have some sort of rapport and relationship with all of my patients and my team as well. So that's a little bit about me. The things that I wanted to cover tonight to share with all of you is to talk about how to showcase your clinical talents to your network being your community, your specialists, your patients. Key systems to implement to provide a consistent positive patient experience. How to create and foster symbiotic relationships with your specialists. So we all remember from biology, symbiotic means that you both benefit from the relationship. And to implement a reverse marketing program to get referrals from them. And also learn the importance of developing a specific team member with the title in your practice of professional relationship concierge. So I'm going to talk about a little bit what that is, obviously, as we go through here. And then also increasing your office production by doing more of the procedures that you enjoy. So I want to start off with just a quick poll. So choice number 1 is 20 new patients calling your office after doing a Google search. And choice number 2 is 15 new patients calling your office who already trust you, they're aware that they have problems, and they're ready to pay for it.
And Ben, I just threw that up there actually. While people are answering that, do you mind if I give the results of our first poll about people's role in the dental practices?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hygiene is in the house, man. Hygiene brings it every week. Every time we have a course. I don't know what it is, Jeff. They just love us.
We call them hygiene. I was going to say, in my practice, we call them hygieniuses.
Hygieniuses. Okay, so hygieniuses represent 53% of our audience, and then about 25 to 30% is dentists, and then a distant third is broken up by office managers and insurance coordinators and dental assistants.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to end the poll, Ben. If you want, I'll share the results here. But I think people are
Sure.
leaning the way. You go
Looks
for
like,
it.
looks like choice number 2 was the winner here, 87% to 13. So I'll be curious to see at the end of our time together today if that last 13% doesn't change their mind. And if they don't, that's okay. But 87% of you are hopefully in for a treat, because I'm going to show you how you can make that happen. How we can go from choice 1 to choice 2. So I want to start off today by just talking briefly about the why of some of the strategies that I've put in place. And I just want to briefly, we're going to end on this subject too, but I just want to briefly start out by talking about the epidemic that we have in amongst dental professionals that's current, but also has been going on for some time. So the Webster Dictionary definition of an epidemic is something that's affecting or tending to affect a disproportionately large number of individuals within a population, community, or region at the same time. And so the population that I'm referring to is dental professionals. And so later on in the course today, we're going to talk about how dentists and their teams are 2 times more likely to suffer from mental health issues due to emotional stressors. So my segue into that is that one of my top stressors is having to, day after day, patient after patient, tell people or patients about problems that they have that they may or may not be aware of. I would say that a majority of my patients don't know that they have a problem. And so then dentists, hygienists, and our teams are the ones that get to give the patients the bad news that, hey, you have a problem, and here's how much it's going to cost to fix it. So we constantly live in what we call an environment of fear. We have patients coming into our office. I'm sure I'm not the only one that hears every single day, don't take it personally, but I hate you, or I hate being here, or I hate the dentist, or I'm totally freaked out right now, I hate needles. We hear that all day. So we're working in an environment of fear, and then we're giving people bad news. I don't think anybody is looking forward to hearing us say that they need a root canal or that they have a cavity. And so that's one of my biggest stressors that I was able to identify over time that was really leading to not helping my mental health. And so one of the particular times when we have to have those difficult conversations is during new patient exams. So a lot of these patients come in, they don't know you, they don't trust you, they know that you have a DDS behind your name or an RDH behind your name, but really it's a pretty low level of trust, if any. They're anxious to hear what you're going to sell or tell them. A lot of patients have had bad experiences where they feel like the dentist or the dental teams are just money hungry, and they're telling them that they need things when really they don't. They may be unaware of their problems, that they even have them. If it doesn't hurt, then in a lot of people's minds, it's not a problem. And so guess who gets to tell them? The dentist, the hygienist, the assistant, the dental team. And so often many of these patients aren't ready for the investment because they didn't even know they had a problem. And it, a lot of times, can easily cost thousands of dollars to fix some of these problems. So today I want to talk about how I was able in my practice to go from choice 1 to choice 2, where I started focusing on getting patients, or attracting patients, I should say, that already trusted me, they already knew that they had problems, and they were ready to pay for it. So I want to go back a few years and just talk about what it's like to be a new dentist right out of school. As soon as you show up at a new practice, some of the first people that show up are the local specialists. They want to take you out for drinks, they want to take you out to dinner, they're dropping off donuts, they're dropping off candy and all sorts of different things for you and your team. And that's all in an effort to obviously get you to send them your patients as a referral. So that's kind of where my story begins. One day, several years ago, I was out to lunch with one of my local orthodontists, and I was telling him how excited I was to come back from a really great veneer workshop out at Spear. And I told him how I wanted to do more veneers, and I was just all fired up about it. And he said, you know, Ben, I have this patient that I saw today who found me online. She doesn't have a general dentist. She needs ortho, so I'm going to be, you know, straightening things out and aligning her teeth, but she has peg laterals. I'm sorry, not a she, he has peg laterals. So I want to send him to you. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, because obviously this person needs veneers. And so we ended our lunch, and a couple days later, I see this person show up in my schedule. And when I walked into the room, the presence of this patient was exponentially different than most of the patients that I had encountered previously in my career. So this patient acted like he already knew me. He said, you know, Dr. Hurley just spoke so greatly of you. He said that I should definitely see you, because once I get my teeth straightened, he said that 2 of my teeth are too small and that I need veneers. Talk about an easy sell. This was like the easiest new patient exam of my life. He had already Googled how much veneers were going to be. He was motivated to do the treatment. He pretty much already knew the treatment plan, and there was a trust transfer from the specialist. So it was just like a totally different experience that just really opened up my eyes to what was possible from getting referrals from my specialist. So as I mentioned, he already trusted me. He was already aware of his problems. He knew what treatment he needed. He had an idea of what the treatment costs would be. And boom, we scheduled him for treatment and we got it done. And for me, one of my favorite procedures to do is veneers. So it was really win-win-win all the way across the board. So that's when I had the big idea that I needed to come up with some sort of strategy to make this happen more often, because it was such an amazing experience for me, and was a better experience for me to not have to be, for at least once, not be the bearer of bad news when it comes to financial and dental problems. So I decided that the first thing that I was going to have to do is to prove what I was capable of. If I wanted a specialist to send me their patients, I needed to prove that I was capable of doing the treatment. I needed to make it easy for the specialist to refer patients to me. And I needed to make sure that I was consistently giving my patients a high level experience, because I needed them to say good things about me when they saw the specialist. So I was basically taking a lot of plays out of the specialist playbook when I put together this strategy. So today what I want to do is I want to show you guys how we can stop stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. So instead of spending thousands of dollars on online pay-per-click advertising that might get you a higher volume of patients, I'm going to show you how you can get maybe a higher quality of patients and give yourself a better experience along the way that is actually a better return on investment. So just in my personal experience, I was able to go from spending $2,500 a month on Google Ads to about $500 a month. So I did not, and I am not saying that there's no place for online marketing. There definitely is. I'm, I guess, merely suggesting that there are other options out there to be able to add different types of patient layers to your new patient flow. So I still do digital online marketing. That is definitely not a takeaway that I'm trying to stop everybody from doing that. But I'm currently averaging spending about $3,500 a year on my reverse marketing. So I went from $2,500 a month to $3,500 a year on my reverse marketing program. And on average, my new patients that I get from my specialists accept treatment plans of anywhere from $2,000 up to $50,000 or $60,000 if it turns into a full mouth rehab. So even if the patient comes in and they're healthy, it's a referral from an orthodontist and they just really need their teeth straightened. There's studies out there that say an average dental patient spends about $10,000 in a practice throughout their time there. So it's still a win-win, even if the patients don't need a super extensive treatment plan. So I wanted to talk briefly about why specialists would want or need to refer patients to me. So the types of patients that we tend to get referred to us from the specialists are patients that do not have a general dentist, and you'd be surprised how many of them are out there. They found the specialist online, so they Googled the orthodontist or the periodontist. Their old dentist retired. This happened a ton during 2020 and 2021. There were a lot of dentists who just straight up closed their doors, didn't sell the practice, and the specialists were their had these mutual patients, and these patients were like, I don't know where to go. And so having your name out there to the specialist to be like, oh, you're going to go see Dr. Turnwald. It's just like, boom. The patients instantly trust the specialist, and then that trust is transferred to you. Other types are, patients that their current dentist doesn't do the type of, they don't maybe do veneers, or they don't restore implants, or they don't do full mouth rehabs. Those patients sometimes get referred. I do want to be clear though, that I am also very clear with my specialists that I am not asking them to poach patients away from their referral doctors. I think that's really important. We are asking for them to send us patients who either need our specific services or they do not have a general dentist. So you definitely don't want to make your specialist feel like you're asking them to take, because that's their lifeblood is, if they start stealing patients from their own referral doctors, that's not good business for them. So we're definitely that's not really the strategy. So I want to talk about how we can get referrals from our specialist. So just another quick poll. Who has come home from a CE course all fired up? Or you see your doctor come home all fired up and it was a veneer course or an Invisalign course, and then all of a sudden they do it for about a week because patients keep saying no, and then it's kind of the end of that.
All right, Ben, I just threw it up there for people to get in there. And don't worry, your answers are anonymous, please.
Yeah, so it looks like we're close to 100% on the heck yes. So we've all seen that, and I've been there. I've been there too. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can get past that here in a minute. But first things first, I want to go through step one, and that is proving what you're capable of. So we're going to go into this in a little bit more detail. Oops. So the first thing I recommend is having either do it as a team or have your doctor, or if you are a doctor, identify what your most enjoyable procedures are. That's how I started. I made a list. For me, I love restorative treatment. I love ceramic restorations. I love doing veneers, crowns, implant restorations, full arch, partial arch rehabs. Those are what excite me the most and give me the most joy. So those were the treatments that I focused on trying to prove that I was capable of doing to my specialist, because those are the types of referrals that I wanted. And then I documented these cases. You can't just say, hey, I'm really good at veneers. You have to have a way to show it. And then communicate what you're capable of. So the best way to do this, and I want this to be one of the take-homes for tonight, the best way to prove what you're capable of and to communicate it is photography. So I can't emphasize enough how important photography is. I feel like this has gotten me almost everything in my practice, even before my reverse marketing program. It's so crucial to show your patients that you practice transparent dentistry. So if you can show the patients a big black filling with basically rust, black rust between the filling and the tooth. That's not them having to trust you that they have a failing restoration. That's them seeing that they have a problem, and then if they can own it quicker, they're going to do the treatment.
Well put.
They're going to own the problem and tend to say yes more. So yes, we're talking about it in terms of marketing tonight, but it's such a great way to communicate to your patients as well. And that's the first step, the first step of case acceptance. So basically what I did, because I was already taking a lot of pictures, basically what I did is I made a book. I went to snapfish.com, and for $27, I had a book bound, and it had photos of my practice, photos of my team, photos of me, photos of about my practice, about me, and my education. And then I put before and after pictures in there as well for the specialists, and really whoever. Patients look at these books too. We have them all over our office. So I'll just go through these kind of briefly, but this didn't take an incredible amount of time to make. And like I said, it was like $27. And I made a copy for each specialist and made sure it got to them. So full mouth reconstructions, I really wanted to do more of those, so I made sure that was in my book. Invisalign and veneers, wanted to do more of that, made sure it was in my book. Implant restorations, wanted to do more of those, so made sure it was in my book. So today's not a clinical discussion, so I don't want to go into the cases, but I wanted to use it more as a example, as something that can really kickstart referrals to your practice. So one of the pushbacks that I get a lot on photography is that it's a negative feedback cycle. So we just did the poll, where we're obviously all together in the fact that we will go to these courses and come back, and then it's getting the patients to say yes. Now we have the skills and knowledge to do the treatment, but it's getting the patients to say yes. So we come back from the course, the patients say no, which means the case is not done, which means there's no photos, which means then you don't have photos to show other patients before and after. And then, so then more patients say no, the case is not done, and there's no photos. So you can, of course, take photos of any patients, but if you're particularly wanting to do more veneers and you can't get a patient to say yes to do the veneers, then that's really where this, that's the particular example I'm talking about here. So I want to introduce a concept tonight of something that I've used that's been incredibly successful for me. And it is called tuition cases. So to the right here, you'll see a before and after picture of my first full mouth rehabilitation that I did about 10 years ago. And for any doctors out there, I'm well aware there's things that I would do differently if I were to do it again. But you got to do something for the first time if you're gonna get better at it. So I offered this patient a discount. I said, Mrs. Jones, I know that we talked about how unhappy you are and how embarrassed you are about your smile and your old failing restorations. So, and I know that it's important for you to do that, but you had shared with me that you just financially can't manage to pull that off at this time. So what I'd like to offer you is I'd like to offer you a discount so that you can still do this for yourself. And all that I ask is that you let me use your pictures to show other patients and to put on my website. And so we do that in the form of a photo consent. So this has been highly, highly successful for me in my practice and for my associates. So it's important to pick the right patients. Don't pick someone who's a jerk. Don't pick a super difficult case that might not turn out ideally, or might not look the best when you're done because it was so tough. And then just use the verbal skills of, I really want to do this for you. I know that it's important to you to do this. And you'd be surprised who says yes. The added bonus of doing these tuition cases is you get those books to put around your practice, and you also get, you can use those same photos to put on your smile gallery on your website. This is one of the biggest ways that I get new patients to my practice, is the fact that I don't have generic photos on my website of like veneers. Patients who are looking for this types of high-end dentistry, they want to know that you know what you're doing. And again, another way of communicating that to patients is, hey, look what I have been able to do for these other patients. So this is just an added bonus as you start to put together a strategy like this for a reverse marketing program. So step 2, make it easy for patients to refer to you. So the first thing is telling them, I would like your referrals. And also I would appreciate your referrals. I don't expect them, but I would like them. And then stay at the top of their mind. And we do that just like they do to us by dropping off gifts. And you can do something as simple as dropping off donuts or candy or cookies or the stuff that they do for us. I'm going to talk in a minute about how we've been able to kind of one-up that in my practice to really stand out. And really brought a strong gift game. Made referral pads. We all have drawers full of referral pads from our specialists. So why can't a general dentist give a referral pad to a specialist? And then rinse and repeat. You got to consistently just be doing this, talking to your specialist, reminding them that, hey, I appreciate your referrals. Giving them the gifts, making sure they have enough referral pads, and just continuing to make it a cycle. So there's a picture of our referral pad that we use. All right, Jim.
Hold on, you're too quick for me. I gotta get the poll up. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm so excited here. Let me do. I figured out how to do this.
So I know there's a lot of teams here and team members. So
here we go, Ben. I got it almost. I'm sorry about this.
That's okay. So I'm just wondering how many people feel like they're too busy to be running around constantly, especially the doctors, or how realistic you think it is to be spending the time doing this with their specialists. So I would say a majority of you are saying that you have a busy practice just like mine, and it's hard to leave for a half a day to go to 8 or 10 different specialty offices to drop things off. So makes sense. I hear you, and we're going to talk about some solutions to that here next. So I actually, when I first bought my practice, I had a lot of time on my hands. And so I did have the time to do these types of things. And as I did that, I actually became a victim of my own success when I really got this system going. It took me about a year or so for it to really start, the wheels to really start to churn, to get the referrals from the specialists. But as it did, my schedule filled up. It's amazing how quickly the doctor's schedule fills up when you're seeing a patient for 3 hours, a whole morning, a whole day, when you're doing these really big cases. And so I kind of, like I said, became a victim of my own success. And my team obviously noticed this, and they were loving all the referrals too. So I actually had one of my hygienists, Sarah, volunteered to help me. And she said, hey, do you want help, coming up with the next set of gifts? And I can even go deliver them for you. And I said, yeah, that would be great. And so I had her do that for me. And lucky for me, it turns out that Sarah was a creative genius, and actually was able to not only come up with like the most amazing gifts to give to our specialists, but she was able to actually run my relationship program with my specialist at an even higher level than I could do myself. So what I want to do is introduce everybody to the concept of a professional relationship concierge. So this is Sarah. As I said, Sarah is and was one of my hygienists. And so what we actually did was we did you're going to find I like the word trust transfer. We did a trust transfer with the specialists where Sarah and I went to the specialist together for one round. And then, the front desk team of all the specialists' office were able to then recognize her face so that when she showed up in the future, she had a chance at actually getting to one of the doctors to say hello. So this role definitely needs to be performed by somebody that has a creative mind, someone that has the abilities to create marketing material, and to come up with gift ideas that is something a little bit more unique than just going to Costco and getting like a fruit basket or something generic. And then has a scheduled marketing plan with the specialist. So in our practice, we try to go at least quarterly to do a touch point with all of our specialists. And then this is something that the doctor or doctors need to do a trust transfer from the DDS to the professional relationship concierge. So here are some examples of what Sarah has designed and came up with. They're all personalized with our branding, with our practice branding, and the gifts usually involve not only the specialists, but their teams, because remember, who else is in the ear of these patients at the specialist's office? If someone can be at the front desk talking about how amazing Dr. Turnwald is, then that's just making those patients already love you even more before they walk in your door. So at this point in Sarah and I's journey together, I don't even have to know when she's going to make these deliveries, because my phone will be blowing up with text messages from all of my specialists taking selfies with them and their teams of all the cool stuff that we sent to them. So talk about staying at the top of their mind and really getting them excited about you and your practice. Just putting in a little bit more effort to make something just a little bit more unique really goes a long way when we're talking about return on investments. The professional relationship concierge can also be really instrumental in onboarding new associates. So in my practice, I've now onboarded 2 associates, and I attribute a lot of the success to this from the fact that I had Sarah and I had a PRC to really focus a lot on marketing, not only within my practice, but to the specialists. You can see an example of one of the little gifts that she dropped off at all the specialists. Says something along the lines of, working with Dr. Hayes is easy peasy lemon squeezy. So it's kitschy, it's fun, but it got the office talking about Dr. Hayes. And so now his name is out there amongst the specialists and the specialty teams, so that now they feel comfortable referring their patients to not only me, but to our practice. So however you do it, find your Sarah, because developing a PRC is incredibly important in being able to pull this off and not just having it be a one and done. As I mentioned earlier, it did take me about a year before we really started seeing a significant new patient flow from our specialists. So it took a little bit of time for the wheels on the train to grind to a start to be able to do this. So either develop somebody on your team or use an outside service. So over the past several years, as I've shared my success story with other dentists, I've had so many of them tell me I need a Sarah. And so luckily I was able to clone my Sarah, and we were able to systematize and scale our our referral program, so that we can now share and collaborate with other offices on a regular basis, so that we're all not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to this type of position. So, and I also understand that, depending on how big your practice is, this might be hard. Either you don't have someone with this skill set on your team, or just coming down to budget, you might not have the budget to be able to hire someone for just this role. So that's one of the services that we offer through Best Practices, DDS. One of the programs we have specifically is we offer instructional videos with shopping lists every quarter. So really, you just need someone in your office that can follow a video, put together a cool gift, and then go drop it off with you, or go eventually drop it off on their own. And then also, help with a lot of the deliverables that we've shown, marketing deliverables and photography, your proof aspect. So that's how I was able to clone my Sarah. So step 3 is making sure that your patients have an exceptional experience at your practice. You have to create raving fans of the doctors and of your team and of the practice. You want your specialist to feel good about referring to you. If a specialist refers to your office and the patient comes back and they're like, wow, I had an amazing experience with Dr. Turnwald. You were right. His team is awesome and I felt so comfortable when I was there. That gives the specialist warm fuzzies about continuing to do that, and it gives them an affirmation to continue doing that and referring patients to your practice. So just a few of my, I really do put a strong emphasis, and my team here with me it's really a team effort. But these are just 3 of my top tips that I'll just briefly go over tonight that we do in our practice that really improve the patient experience. So it starts with the first phone call. There's the big reveal, which is giving a tour of your office on the first, the patient's first appointment with you, and then continuing patient appreciation. So as I mentioned, I've spent a lot of time out at Spear Education, and one of the VPs out there, I love this term. I totally stole it from her, so I'm going to give her credit, Amy Morgan, but she uses the term, what have you done for me lately? And that's totally what our patients may not consciously think, but subconsciously they're thinking, what have you done for me lately to make you appreciate you? So you got to constantly be showing your patients how much you appreciate them. So just briefly, and this is incredibly important too, especially if you're planning on fostering referrals from your specialist, is your front desk team has got to nail the first phone call. It's essential that this is mastered. And in fact, I would suggest making sure that you have a really strong handle on this before you even start doing really any sort of marketing program, because you can spend all the money in the world to get that phone to ring. But if the person answering that phone can't seal the deal and can't convert that patient to an appointment, then the money that you spent to get that patient to call is really a waste. So it's your first chance to impress. I suggest having guidelines for what information should be taken from the patient and what questions should be asked. So in our office, we have a telephone information slip that is filled out each and every time a new patient calls. You want to make sure that the expectations are set. In my practice, we schedule 90 minutes for a new patient exam. You don't want someone showing up thinking they're going to get the old quick 5-minute exam and they have a meeting scheduled 30 minutes later. So setting expectations for time, the investment or the cost of the appointment, and what records you'll be taking. That you'll be taking a full series of radiographs, that you'll be scanning their teeth with a digital scanner, you'll be taking impressions, whatever it happens to be. One of the quickest, easiest ways to motivate your team to make changes on phone calls or to grow is phone recording. So obviously there's rules around this, and you gotta make sure that patients know that they're being recorded, Just like when you call a big company, that says this call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes, it's exactly what you hear when you call my practice. So the patients need to know they might be recorded, and then also your front desk team needs to know that they're being recorded as well. And you sit and you listen to phone calls of new patients together, and you debrief and talk about what could be done better. A friendly voice, smiling when you answer the phone, someone that answers the phone, doctor's office, that's not going to result in an appointment most likely.
And funny enough, that's how Jeff Daly answers his phone when you call him. So that makes sense to me.
You weren't supposed to tell me, Jim. That's mean.
That's why he doesn't get a lot of patients.
That's true.
And then it's also your first chance to talk about why you're different. In my suburb, there's 90 dentists.
Wow.
And so we have to impress. Not only are there 90 dentists, but my practice is not in network with any insurance companies. So it usually does cost patients more to see us. So it's really important, regardless, that you are able to at least give your patients a little bit of a why in that first phone call. And then we always say to our patients, because we know that they have choices. Like I said, there's 90 in my suburb that you've made the right choice by calling our practice. We're going to take great care of you. The big reveal. So we've all watched probably HGTV. They do the home makeovers, and then they take you through the house and they show you all the little, the mantelpiece and the flooring and the cupboards. So this is exactly what you should do when you have new patients show up at your practice. First of all, the front office team should be expecting a new patient and greet them by name. You must be Mrs. Jones. And then show off your practice as if you were a realtor. You're really selling yourself. So introduce key team members by giving quality statements. So in my office, it would be, I know that you've already spoken with Kim as you walked in the door. She's our patient care coordinator. Kim is amazing at helping patients fit the dentistry into their budgets comfortably. I passed one of the hygienists, or whoever passes one of the hygienists in the hallway. This is Leah. Leah is one of our hygienists. She is awesome at giving really comfortable clinical cleanings to our patients. So just as if you were walking through your house, point out things. Of course, anything that would help the patient, you want to be able to make a quality statement about. And also make sure your office is clean and organized. I can't say how many patients come in and compliment us on how clean our office is. So whether, if you need to slap some new paint on the walls, slap some new paint on the walls. Make sure there's not cobwebs hanging from your overhead light. We're, of course, all really good at keeping our clinical areas, disinfected and clean. But just having something aesthetically look clean is really important too. Show off your technology. I have my scanner parked right in the hallway, so every single patient has to walk by our scanner, and we can make a point of it. And don't assume. We all spent thousands of dollars on HEPA filters during the pandemic, so we make sure that the patients know what those white boxes are in every room. And it's a team effort. Everybody has to be able to give a quality tour and be able to answer the phone properly and be friendly and to give your patients a good experience.
Ben, real quick, I'm giving you your 2-minute warning, so that way we can take questions from the audience.
Yep. So I'm going to skip this for now.
Oh, that was pretty cool. Come on. You got to go back to that. Let's see that for a second.
All right. So this is just a tour of my office, but I wanted to use this just to kind of show how we welcome patients to their new dental home. Anybody that we pass in the hallway, we introduce. We make sure that we talk about our state-of-the-art sterilization center to give patients peace of mind that everything's being sterilized properly. And we talk about how we have digital X-rays and a scanner. And so as you go through the tour, you're able to point those things out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Eric said the same thing in chat. He wanted to see it too, so appreciate it.
And then also patient appreciation, just saying thank you, never letting a compliment go unacknowledged. So, oh my God, that injection didn't hurt as much as I thought. Never just say nothing to that, or just thank you. That's, thank you for noticing that. I spend a lot of time practicing gentle injection techniques. So if you know anybody or friends or family that are looking for a dentist that gives gentle injections, I would love for you to send them my way. Ask them for reviews, ask them for invitations, gifts if they finish a big treatment plan, a bottle of champagne or something. And then presenting value-based treatment plans instead of, what I might do a dental implant, but that might not be what someone values. So presenting treatment plans that are based on what the patient wants and not what the doctor wants. And then celebrating milestones. So whether it's with your team or your patients, we celebrated getting 100 5-star reviews on Google. And we celebrated getting 200 5-star reviews on Google. So just making sure you're bringing your whole team and your patients along with the journey. Another just really quick thing that we did is a pie day where we gave away free pies to all of our patients. And we weren't sure how successful this was going to be, but we ended up having 200 of our patients show up, and we did basically like a drive-through. And we had the 2 months following doing this, we had our highest new patient flow ever. So just small stuff like that can make a really big difference. So the key is to create raving fans of your practice that results in referrals from patients and specialists. And with this strategy, you really can, at least monetarily, it's a low investment with a high return. So the specialist, can refer a lot of veneer, implant, full, partial mouth rehab patients, and the amount of money that you invest in this program can really give you such a high return for such a low investment. And it's proven to be pandemic proof. I started this several years ago, and the specialist referrals went up during the pandemic because patients were looking for trust, relationship-based businesses. They wanted to know that they could be safe when they walked into a business. And when another business owner that they trust says, go to this other business, you can trust them. That was exactly what people needed to hear during the pandemic.
Well put.
And so not only did this give me a financial return on investment, but it also gave me an emotional return on investment. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, this added a second or an additional layer onto my new patient flow, where not every single patient was coming in that had low levels of trust, was unaware of their problems. It really did help kind of spread out the new patient flow, so that I, at least on a regular basis, were seeing these patients that already trusted me. They knew they had problems and they were ready to pay for it. And with that, I think I ran a little short, so I think I'm gonna skip my last section and we can go to question and answer.
Yeah, can you put up your contact information? Because people have been asking how to get a hold of you.
Yep.
Thank you. Ben, our first question is about photography. This person asked about, why, in your experience, why are more practices using photography? What are the hang-ups? What's the head trash around that? Maybe you could speak to that for a moment.
Well, one, I think it wasn't taught in dental school. At least it wasn't to me. So I think that a lot of dentists have to be interested in learning how to do dental photography, because it is different than regular photography. So I think that that's probably one, is that it has to come from the top, and then also it's not reimbursable by insurance. So you do have to take time out of your appointments to do it, which in my opinion, I'm okay with that, because it pays for itself back in the patient education and being able to take a patient on the tour of their mouth and show them things that you couldn't do with a hand mirror.
Okay, the next question is from an anonymous attendee. What kind of camera and photography setting would you suggest do you need or do we need a photo booth?
No, I don't have a photo booth. And honestly, yes, I do have a DSLR fancy digital camera, as you saw in one of my photos, but you really don't even need that to get started. The new iPhones take such awesome pictures that, I mean, you could buy just a cheap digital camera. You could use an iPhone or a smartphone, we'll say. And actually, there's an amazing program for free for those of you that have Invisalign practices. Invisalign has an app that is free for Invisalign doctors, where it literally shows you the outline of like the smile and the teeth, and you can use an iPod or an iPhone or a smartphone, and it's literally so easy to do, and it's totally acceptable for Invisalign too. So it takes 30 seconds to get the full Invisalign series. And you can use that and then email it to yourself or send it somehow and put it in the patient's chart. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on a fancy camera to be able to do this. I think if you're going to do these higher end cases, and I think you do just for lab communication and to get some really good before and afters. But as you're getting started, I've seen clinical photography with iPhones that are like stellar. And then also you can get like even to just do single tooth photos. You can get the pen intraoral cameras for like $200
Okay.
online.
Thank you. From another anonymous attendee, I guess they feel like they're afraid to say their name. So anonymous attendee number 2, do you give a photo book of your cases to your potential referral doctors, or do you just show them?
For $27, I give it to all of them. Yeah, it's cheap. So yeah, give it to them.
And then a follow-on question for this, and I think is about the referral pads. That was kind of like a novel thing. How has that been received by, the what you say, just ballpark from the how do the referral doctor, the specialists typically accept that concept?
I gave it to them with the book. I had one question from one endodontist that said, all of my patients come to me from referral doctors. I can't take them away. And so that's why I made a point of talking about that tonight is, I think for the first visit, a doctor or doctors need to go to have a conversation with a specialist about the types of patients that you're looking for. So here's a referral pad. And just to be clear, we're not looking for you to send us, patients that already have a general dentist. We're looking for the people who don't have a dental home. So they were well received because you're not doing anything, that isn't easy for them.
Thank you. Okay, that if you feel inspired and you want to stay connected with Dr. Turnwald, I'd recommend scanning his QR code, follow him on Instagram, or send him an email. And if you have other questions, I think it's a great way to dialogue with him. On behalf of Dr. Turnwald and Darby Dental, thank you so much here from CareStack. Have a good evening,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Dr. Turnwald.